Greetings to all my tech heads out there in the KevTechify Nation, and if you're new here, welcome. In this episode, we're going to look at the Cisco Switched Port Analyzer, also known as Cisco SPAN. We'll be discussing network monitoring methods, network taps, traffic mirroring and SPAN, configuring the Cisco SPAN. This episode is part of my series on network security. I'm Kevin here at KevTechify. Let's get this adventure started. The day-to-day operation of a network consists of common patterns of traffic flow, bandwidth usage, and resource access. Now, together, these patterns identify normal network behavior. Security analysis must be intimately familiar with the normal network behavior because abnormal network behavior typically indicates you have a problem on your network. So you need to have an understanding of what normal data flow on your network looks like so you can identify when you don't have that normal flow. Now, to determine this normal network behavior, network monitoring must be implemented using an intrusion detection system, packet analyzers, simple network management protocol, SNMP, NetFlow, and a bunch of other tools. Now, some of these tools require capturing network data. There are two common methods here to capture network data. One here is network taps. Think about phone taps where they listen in on the conversation. They don't partake, they don't change the conversation. But this is what happens to network taps is they listen to the traffic. They don't do anything with that traffic, they just listen to it. Network taps here, a lot of times people refer to it as test access points. So you can go in and test the different points on your network. The second method here used to capture traffic would be traffic mirroring. And this is where Cisco SPAN, Cisco Switched Port Analyzer, comes in. It copies the traffic that's flowing across the network to a different place. A network tap is typically a passive splitting device implemented in line between device of interest and the network. And so what we see here is we're sending data. So you have your internal network, and this could be a PC on the internal network. This could be the internet over here where you have a web server. And we're sending data back and forth between them. As traffic travels across your network, the tap here forwards all traffic, including the physical single layer errors. So we set this network tap up here, and it sends all that data down here. So it forwards all traffic, including the physical layer errors, to an analysis device. And that would be the monitoring device down here. This analysis device while allowing all that traffic to reach its intended destination. So the web server, the PC, the user on that PC doesn't notice that their traffic is being watched. Taps are typically fail-safe, which means if the tap fails or loses power, so this tap right here, if the monitoring device loses power, loses connections here, the traffic between the firewall and the internal router is not connected. And so that's one of the big key points right here is this traffic tap. You have the firewall, you have your internal router here, and it's sending that data back and forth. This is something you placed on your network to intercept traffic. And if this goes down for some reason, traffic is not interrupted. Because capturing data for network monitoring requires all traffic to be captured, special techniques must be employed here to bypass the network segmentation imposed by network switches. Port mirroring is one of these techniques. Port mirroring enables the switch to copy frames that are received on one or more ports to a Cisco Port Analyzer, typically referred to as SPAN, a SPAN port that is connected to an analysis device. We have some terms that we need to discuss as we talk about the different SPAN features. The first one here is ingress traffic. This is the traffic that enters into the switch, so it's traffic coming in. Egress traffic Egress here is traffic that leaves the switch. So traffic coming in is ingress, traffic going out is egress. The span port, the source span port here, is source ports here are monitored as traffic is entering them and is replicated or mirrored to a destination port. So once again, source ports are monitored as traffic entering them is replicated. So you have a port, traffic is entering that port, it is replicated or mirrored to a destination port, which now leads us to our destination span port. And this here is a port that mirrors that source port. So this is that extra port where that mirrored data is being sent. Destination span ports often connect to analysis devices, such as a packet analyzer or an intrusion detection system. If you like this episode on Cisco Switched Port Analyzer and you get value out of it, and depending upon the platform you're using, please click that like button, give a 5-star rating, leave a comment, subscribe to my channel. Doing this supports the channel, which in turn helps me bring you more great content. You can also visit my website at KevTechify.com for all of my details and how to get these episodes in video and podcast form. Here's an example with a switch that interconnects two hosts and mirrors traffic. So right here's our switch, and it has two hosts. We can call them PC1, PC2. It connects those two up, but then we mirror traffic down here to an IDS sensor and a management server. Now let's talk about these terms that we talked about on the last slide. Ingress, egress, source span port, destination span port. What we're looking at here is traffic going from PC1 to PC2. So we're looking at traffic traveling in this direction. So traffic coming in here on F01. So this is ingress traffic. This will be our source span port. So ingress traffic, this is our source port, and we'll be sending all that data from our source port to our destination span port. So it goes from here, the ingress traffic, we're going to copy and mirror it to here, which happens to be our gig 01. We're also then going to look at traffic leaving our switch. In particular, we're looking at traffic leaving on port 2. So this now becomes a source span port also, because this is where we're capturing the data here on F02, and then we're going to send it to our destination span port down here on gig 01. The span port here, it gets copies of that mirrored data. So from both F01 and F02, data is sent down here going into our intrusion detection system and then forwarded on to our network management server. The span feature on Cisco switches sends a copy of each frame entering the source port out the destination port. So it sends from the source port, any information entering in the source port, sends it out the destination port, and then that goes towards that packet analyzer or your intrusion detection system. A session number is used to identify that span session. Here we can use the monitor session command, where you put in that number, that session number, and then the source, and then you can specify what interface or VLAN you want to take a look at. Now the VLAN, it can be used instead of the physical port, and that's helpful when you're monitoring several devices at a time all on the same VLAN. Here's a simple example. We have PCA. PCA here is connected to F01 on our switch. The intrusion detection system, or your packet analyzer, is connected on F02. The objective here is to capture all of the traffic that is sent or received by PCA on port F01. So we want to capture all data that is sent and received here on F01 from PCA. Now we want to copy all of those frames here to the IDS or your packet analyzer. So we want to copy it to your intrusion detection system or your packet analyzer that is connected on F2. So copy all traffic from F1 to F2 here. The span session on the switch will copy all the traffic it sends and receives on that source port F01 to the destination port F02. Down here are the commands we use to do it. So in global configuration mode, we want to monitor session, and then here's our session number, and we want to say all source data on our interface of F02. So this is saying this is the source right here. And then we say monitor session 1, the same number, same session number. Now we got our source defined in the line above. We put the destination on where we want it to go, and this is where we identify the fast Ethernet 02. To verify your span session, what we do here is use the show monitor command. When you do the show monitor command, it lists out the source ports, it lists out our destination ports, it lists out our session number. So here, if you have multiple sessions, multiple monitorings going on, you'll have different session numbers. So this is for session 1, the one we just set up in the previous screen. We have our source port here. Once again, remember our source port was fast Ethernet 0. It says both here. We are looking at both the ingress and egress. Then we have our destination port that was on F02 where we're sending the data. So we're capturing data on our source ports of F01 and we're sending it to our destination port of F02. It was my pleasure to provide you with this wonderful episode on Cisco Switched Port Analyzer. If you like this episode and you got value out of it, and of course, depending upon what platform you're using, please click that like button, give a 5-star rating, leave a comment. This all helps me bring you more great content. Please take a minute to subscribe to my channel. All of my socials and contact information are on my website, KevTechify.com, and you can get all these episodes in video and podcast form. In the upper right is my playlist for my series on network security. In the bottom right is one of my favorite videos that I picked just for you. Thank you so much for watching this episode of my series on network security. Once again, I'm Kevin. This is KevTechify. I'll see you next time for another great adventure.